Choosing a daycare or preschool is hard because in Trinidad, daycares can be like Hotel California. Children can check in anytime they like, but they may never leave. In Trinidad, it's becoming increasingly difficult to trust people, especially with children. Except, of course, it's your mother or maybe your mother-in-law or Auntie Mabel who lives down the road and has 13 children and 94 grandchildren. Sure, one of her sons looks like a pedophile and one of her grandsons, the one named Mike Tyson, he bites like a crocodile. But you know what? Auntie Mabel has a big living room and a swing in her front yard, so that's the woman to mind my child. Some people like single or working parents use daycare because they don't have a choice. Others use it so they can get a break from the little scamp. So yes, choosing an early childhood center is terribly difficult because you don't have to look hard to find horror stories. In 2010, a baby boy died after choking on food he vomited while asleep. It was his first day at daycare. After the incident, the mother said, "My baby was healthy when I left him. Apparently they fed him and I don't know if they burped him properly." The caretakers told me they tried to revive him, but they should have known to just call the emergency health services immediately. They are not trained professionals. In May 2016, a baby suffocated at a daycare. The daycare owner, a qualified nurse, said she was sorry. Yeah, sorry. This one is freaky. In June 2018, an 8-month-old child received scratches on his arm which seemed to form the word shh. A doctor report said the scratches were too many to count. And an officer at the Children's Authority told the father, and this is very important, there was nothing legally that could have been done, referring to some policy that was before Parliament. In July 2018, a baby was badly beaten at a daycare. And when the child's mother saw him, she said, "I didn't even recognize him." In May 2019, while we were writing this episode, a baby died at a daycare. Some of these stories are so terrifying, any parent with options can easily become paranoid, quit their job and take care of their own child and probably start back working when the little one turns 18 or 35. Trinidad and Tobago has hundreds of early education centers, both public and private. There are approximately 500 private early childhood care and education centers that are not registered with the Ministry of Education, which I find absolutely baffling because on the ministry's website it clearly states that all private schools operating in Trinidad and Tobago must be registered in accordance with the Education Act Chapter 3901. Interestingly, in Barbados, daycare operators failing to register risk facing closure of the daycare center or may be subject to a fine of $500,000 and or 6 months imprisonment. And registration is an annual process. Locally, the Ministry of Education's website clearly outlines the steps for registration. For example, written approval must be obtained from WASA, the Electrical Inspectorate, Trinidad and Tobago Fire Services, Regional Health Authority, the Nursery Association of TNT. As a parent, you can demand to see these things. I'm not making this up. Listen to ECCE's director, Carol Bagwandin, during a radio interview in January 2019.
We issue a certificate of registration with a unique registration number whenever a center is registered. And it is just not saying registration. In order for you to get that certificate, you must have approval from Town and Country, the Electrical Inspectorate, WASA, Fire Services.
Your child's early education center, whether it's a daycare or preschool, must have at least one qualified teaching staff with relevant certification. And no, Mrs. Mabel, the fact that you have 13 children and 94 grandchildren does not count. We're talking about a certificate in early childhood education from a recognized tertiary institution where teachers learn first aid and how to burp a child. There are standard requirements for registration that every parent should know. Corporal punishment is not allowed. Teacher-child ratio should not exceed the following. From birth to 2 years, 1 teacher to 4 students. From 2 to 3 years, 1 teacher to 6 students. And from 3 to 4+ years, 1 teacher to 15 students. So if you go by Auntie Mabel and Auntie Mabel's nursery has more kids than Chuck E. Cheese on a Saturday, chances are Auntie Mabel is being very, very naughty. Daycare providers must record and report all signs of child abuse and or neglect to the relevant authorities. So it beats me that in some of the mentioned cases, parents only got the bad news when they arrived at the daycare or the preschool in the afternoon. The standards I mentioned a moment ago are based on proposals from 2004. The proposals go as far as outlining how to plan field trips, An induction process must take place that introduces new staff, volunteers or students to colleagues, children, parents, etc. Groups of children must be cared for in their own space. In other words, a 4-year-old should not be in the same room with a newborn. Some people just shouldn't be in the same room, like Batman and the Joker, or your child and Auntie Mabel's son, the one who looks like a pedophile, or Satmaraj and Tobago's Aquaman, Watson Duke. Can you imagine Satmaraj and Watson Duke in preschool together? For the 3rd time in a row, Watson doesn't do his homework when the teacher asks. Satsan shoots up and he says, "Miss, he's a Tobagonian, he lazy." Given their age, some kids shouldn't be in the same space, and no, Auntie Mabel, you can't care for children in the same room you're making ketchup. I find it baffling that some of these proposals aren't actually law. If we've done our research properly, the Children's Community Residences, Foster Care and Nurseries Act was last updated in 2015. There are sections still awaiting proclamation, namely sections 42 to 52, which make it illegal to manage a nursery or daycare without a license, which authorize random audits, which state that the authority can revoke licenses in the event of a breach. Why aren't sections 42 to 52 law? Once upon a time, the government pulled off section 34. We shouldn't just kick back and say, "What you gonna do, boy?" or "That's how it goes sometimes." This legislation and monitoring of childcare centers is a pressing concern. As parents, as future fathers and mothers, we must demand the very best for our children, whether it's from the government or from our actual daycare provider. For example, you go up to Auntie Mabel and you say,
Auntie Mabel, is your nursery it registered or not? I notice it's just you and you have 30 children here and your grandson, the one who likes to bite, the one named Mike Tyson.
Perhaps because of fear of victimization, you may choose to say nothing. I get that, but remember this. There are people who are very good at staying silent. For example, some people will sit in a taxi traveling from Curepe to San Fernando and not bat an eyelash as the driver flies above the speed limit or drives along the shoulder or breaks a traffic light. And do you know where some of those people are right now? They're dead. And do you know where the ones who've spoken out are? They're alive. Sure, they've been put out of the taxi and they're still stranded on the highway. Maybe this isn't a very good example, but you get my point. A child you're stranded with is way better than a dead child. In the end, our biggest responsibility is to the children of our nation. We desperately need to have these laws and monitoring system updated. We need to fix this and everyone needs to get involved. So if you're update, here's what you could do. You could call the Children's Authority on their hotline. Tell them you're calling to report an abuse. Tell them that there are crucial sections of the Nurseries Act that aren't yet law, and you're concerned about it. More than likely, they're going to tell you that they are waiting on Parliament or the Attorney General. Right now, the Attorney General is Faris Alwari. That man just get me speechless. The good news is that in December 2018, back when Devant Maraj was leaking phone numbers, Mr. Alwari beat him to it. His phone number is 683-6442. Call him, text him, WhatsApp him. Listen, I've done my part and no response. Maybe you'll have better luck. You message Faris Alwari. Tell him you're concerned about the kids and tell him you think he's really handsome. If he responds, maybe he'll tell you the same thing that the Ministry of the Attorney General's website will tell you. An act does not come into immediate operation, blah, blah, blah. Listen, I get that, but 10 plus years of tragedies is a long time. If the AG doesn't respond, tag him in the comment section, tag the Ministry of Legal Affairs as well, or keep it simple, share this video, spread the word. Red Wall News. It's better than blues. Even if you aren't a parent, you should get involved, because one day you're going to have children. That same child you sent by Auntie Mabel, that same child is going to be the one who choosing your old age home, And that is another nightmare.